Kelly, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a recent reads video. It's all about the ebooks I read in August. So basically this is my August wrap up. I have been meaning to film this video since last month, and I'm finding wrap ups tedious. It's a long video and honestly it doesn't get many views, and I'm getting disappointed in it and disheartened. But I really want to talk about these books, and I have, I think, 10 books to talk about. And so the first one I'm going to be talking about is Forest of Souls by Lori M. Lee. I got this as a review for a blog tour post, and I really enjoyed it. I ended up giving it a 5 out of 5 stars. I find myself, like, when I'm starting a Asian-inspired fantasy, that I'm scared to start them and read them because I feel that I'm going to get all of them confused. And another one that I thought I was going to get it confused with, but it just made me want to finish this series, or this duology, even more. Confused with Circle of Shadows that I read at the very beginning of the year, but it didn't. It's its own story. It's so freaking different from Circle of Shadows, but it deals with kingdoms and magic and okay, so it is about this girl named Saoirse. She was an orphan and the monks took care of her, but they were also mean monks. They told her that she wasn't wanted and that she was going to grow up and be nothing. And so we see her as a apprentice to the queen's assassin. She is wanting to become the next assassin for the queen, but there's also a catch. She's not the only one training to be an assassin. And if you find out who else is training, then you have the opportunity to kill said person who's also training to up your opportunity to become the queen's assassin. The shaman born are not welcome. They get executed and persecuted at every single turn. They are imprisoned because they have this magic. And Saoirse finds out why her ears look different, and then she gets sent to this Spider King, and she has to go through this forest of dead trees. Since I read this as an ebook, the glossary for all the terms was at the very beginning, and I didn't like that. But I also think you should read this as a physical book because it includes a glossary. Because you don't want to go, oh, I need a glossary, then if you don't have like a table of contents link. So, it was weird. The next one I read is This Is My America by Kim Johnson. I love the cover. Her box braids. I think it's her box braids. Or, no, not box braids. Her hair, it's got the American flag on it, and then on the back, I've seen a physical copy in another YouTube video, but she has Africa earrings, and it's just beautiful. Stunning. Love the cover. But this is about a girl named Tracy Beaumont. She is writing to this group called Citizen X, and she wants to get her dad represented because he is on death row for a murder that he did not commit. While she is writing letters and counting down the days till her dad's execution, her brother gets accused of doing a murder, but simply, is it the wrong place, wrong time? While she's writing to Citizen X about her father, she starts talking about her brother. Her brother was the star athlete, track athlete, and he was on this show, morning show, talking about his achievements and stuff. And his sister, Tracy, just blurts out, yeah, they need to take up my dad's case. My dad was wrongly convicted. She just steals the whole show, which made me think that she was selfish. And I was very annoyed with Tracy at the very beginning. And like everyone else, like her mom and her brother was very miffed because she stole the spotlight from him. This was his moment. I mean, their family had already been in the spotlight for this murder by her dad. And so they were trying to do just one good thing, and then Tracy just shoves their family back into the spotlight about the murder. And then it doesn't really do anything, but the town that they're in, they were Hurricane Katrina refugees. They left New Orleans from the hurricane and went to this little podunk white town in Texas. And her father met this guy and they went into business, and then this white man and his wife wanted to go into business with Tracy's father, and Tracy's father would only do it if he could bring along his partner. And then the white man and his wife were found murdered, and the white man and his wife did not want the dad's business partner. They only wanted Tracy's dad. It's all a big web, and this web, and it's all interconnected, and it's just great. I cried. It was heartbreaking. I read this a couple months with everything with George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, with Jacob Blake. It was just my heart goes out to them, and makes you think. I live in a little small town in the South, and I'm white, obviously, and the majority of my friends and who I consider family, they're black, and I cannot understand how another person can be hateful towards another person. Ended up giving this book a 5 out of 5 stars, and anything Kim Johnson writes I will be picking up. I think I have something else. Wrote, from the very first chapter I was having all sorts of feelings. I was sad, I was offended at one, I was laughing, and I was crying through the whole book. It was just that one sentence that was very offensive, but I ended up still giving this book 5 out of 5 stars. I mean, I want my own copy, and I want more from Kim Johnson. It was also a review for a blog tour spot. So is the third one, which is Orphan 11 by Jennifer Koldinko. And I give this a 4 out of 5. It is about this little girl. Her name is, let's see, I forget. I'm on Goodreads right now. A little orphan named Lucy. She's living in this school for unwanted girls and boys, and it's not a very good school. It's no food, no warmth, no clothes, no treasures, no nothing. Home for friendless children. Lucy is a selective mute. She used to talk and she used to sing, and then she started stuttering. She was abused mentally and emotionally so much that she started a stutter. And she used to sing, and then with her stutter, she stopped. And so one day she escapes, and she's running and running, trying to keep away from the mistresses who are following her, which surprises her because once a orphan escapes, they don't follow because it's one less mouth to feed. Lucy escapes with 3 other orphans, and the mistresses come after her only. They don't care about the other three because three less mouths to feed, but for some reason they are following her. So the 4 orphans, they get picked up by a pregnant girl who was also an orphan at this home, and she understands that they're escaping, and she helps them flee. She then sends them to this traveling circus to try to find jobs and to feed themselves and make money to survive. Mistresses catch up, and we understand why. We find out why they are so eager to get Lucy back to this home. And I learned something that really did happen. I never knew that there was an experiment to take people or kids that could talk really well and abuse them or belittle them so much that they develop a stutter. I never knew that was an issue. I never knew that was a scientific experiment. And I read that there was a case against an Ohio university because they did this experiment back in 2003, 2004, I think. And that the subjects in this case won against the university, and that the professors at this university were fired and all of this and that. I never knew that. So from a middle grade book, I learned something about history, and I give this a 4 out of 5 stars. So I wrote, the author's note taught me that the study that Lucy was forced to be a part of were real, and they continue to happen. So these studies are still happening all over the world, and it's just, you're putting all this mental strain and disabilities on this kid and people that they're fine. They have nothing wrong with them, and then they're abused and belittled like, oh, you're stupid, and you're never going to amount to anything, and you don't sound right, and you didn't say this right, and they develop a stutter. And then when they're stuttering, they're still belittled, and it's just, I can't. The next one I read was Briar Rose by Jan Yolen. I read this book back in 6th grade, and I loved it. So I decided that I didn't read this on ebook, but I'm just sticking a picture on here. But this is a Sleeping Beauty retelling set during World War II and present day. Yeah, I only read it once, and it was my favorite, and it stuck with me. But there's a part in this book that I wonder if we read out loud or we just skipped over, because this is not fit for a 6th grade, okay? This is not middle grade whatsoever. This is like a young adult, new adult. Yeah, it's got a sex scene in it, and I read this in 6th grade. But it's not a sex scene between a man and a woman. It's a sex scene between a man and a man. So we're following an old woman named Gemma. Gemma has been a storyteller to her daughter and her grandchildren ever since they can remember. And every other chapter, there's like, once upon a time, or it starts with a story. It's always the same, and it's repeated constantly throughout the book. It's reiterated all the time. And you never get to the end of the story, but you can kind of tell. Gemma's dying from Alzheimer's or something. I don't think it's Alzheimer's, because she can remember the story. And she really thinks she was Sleeping Beauty. Well, Rebecca decides to find out if this story is true, because her grandmother was so adamant that she was Sleeping Beauty and that there was a castle in Poland. And so I don't want to spoil this book. So Rebecca works at this newspaper, and so she decides to research. And after Gemma's death, they get all her mementos, and there's this box that has a picture of Gemma in a camp in America, pregnant, and has a different name that she was given. And yeah, it's she was in a refugee camp in America from Europe, and all of these other inmates behind her. Yeah, it was just I don't want to spoil it, but I may have to. This movie, yeah, I'm making a feature-length movie here. This video is going to contain spoilers. It was in extermination camp that she was in, and it had the gas fans. I think Kilmno. She survived Kilmno. And throughout this whole book, in the modern day, people are saying that can't be because there was no female escapees that survived Kilmno. Only two people survived Kilmno. And the rest of the people that were there died in these gas vans. And so this militia group ends up saving Gemma for young readers. I don't know how my substitute teacher at the time, because I remember 6th grade, my English teacher, she went on maternity leave a month after the school year started, and so we had a substitute from September to April, and we only had our real teacher from August and in May. And so our substitute teacher read us a dirty book. It had a dirty scene, and I freaking loved it. I remembered it all this time. This one should be short and sweet. If I talk 7 minutes about this little short 3-page book, then something's wrong with me. I don't even remember it. But I was watching a video by Books with Emily Fox, and she talked about this 3-page book by Andy Weir, the guy who wrote The Martian, and it is called The Egg. It is on his website. I'll link it down below. But it's just basically a short story about the universe. That's all it is. I'm always thinking about reincarnation, past lives. I actually think I had past lives because I am so attracted to certain places in the world. And if you are, like, take for instance Zach Bagans, he's attracted to Gettysburg and the Wild West, and he actually thinks that he had a past life in the Civil War and in the Wild West. So I think I had a past life in somewhere in Georgia because I'm so attracted to that state, specifically in Atlanta. In Atlanta, I'm a completely different person. So I honestly think that we have past lives, and once one life is done, our mind is completely wiped, so we don't relive the same life, if that makes sense. But yeah, I gave this 3-page ebook a 4 out of 5. And Andy Weir, if you have not read The Martian or watched the movie, read the book first and then go watch the movie, because the first sentence in The Martian is, "I'm fucked." Next one. I'm not going to talk about this one much either, because it's my most hated book of the year, and that is Extreme by Joan Gelfand. The cover. I love the cover. It's a wave. I don't like the book. It is about tech startups, and the characters, they talk in abbreviations like LOL and JK and WTF and BRB to people. Face to face. Like, I'll BRB. And what the F? WTF. And just, like, don't make your characters talking abbreviations to people because it is unrealistic. I mean, who talks? I don't... This book was way too long and jumped all over the place. It's got a girl reminiscing about her past startup and why she left it to this new startup. And it's like this gaming app or it's a gaming challenge. It's like X Games challenges. It's there's a challenge thrown out with something stupid, like do an ollie while holding a pancake. And the people who accept this challenge, they have to make videos and they upload it to this website. The website is constantly crashing, and it's constantly crashing throughout the book. And then it's got a CEO who wants to buy them out or sell them out for a higher payday and make $5+ million. And then our main character, she's having relationship issues of her own because her boyfriend is from money, but he wants to settle and he wants to get married to her. And she goes and meets his folks, his family, and she doesn't want to be the crotchety old mean wife that his mother is. And she thinks that she'll turn into that once she comes into more money that's not her own. And she just wants to be free, but yet she has a sexual moment with her ex. They both cheat on their spouses. So. And then the ending of the book, I couldn't even tell you what the fuck happens. And this is just a bad book. This one, not an ebook. It is physical, and it is Mayfly by Jeff Sweat. I decided to buy this as the first in a series, or a duology, because I got the second book as an ebook for a blog tour spot. This is a dystopian world, and all of the adults have disappeared. It's kind of like Gone by Michael Grant, but not. So, in this world, it is the girls that are the leaders, or in this particular group of survivors. And the girls are in control. They don't like boys whatsoever. But there's boys in the group, and they are the guard. They are the workers. And the escort type. So, in this world, we follow a girl named Gemma, and she is about to celebrate a birthday where she will be fertile and she has to become a mama. The teens in this book, they are trying to repopulate the world, and yeah, it talks a lot about sex. The way they describe sex is rolling. So a boy can come up to a girl and say, "Do you want to roll?" And they can do that to try to have a baby. And it's just, it was very, and so Gemma wants to find a way. She doesn't want to become a mama, and so she runs away with this boy who she likes and loves. His name is Apple. And yeah, eventually they run into a different territory and they start getting shot at by other kids. And there's this thing called the end, where if you hit 17, it'll erase you. Or no, when you hit 17, this thing will make your body better. I mean, you'll start feeling better and feel like you are a new person, and then you'll die. The plot twist at the end. And that segues into the second book, which is called Scorpion. And I think this is the last. I think this is the conclusion. I think it's only a duology because Mayfly came out in 2018, and then Scorpion came out in this year, 2020, in June. So in the second book, Lady, Gemma, and Pico are all with the old guys, and the old guys are like hundreds of years old, but they look like they're in their 20s and 30s. They have found a way to become immortal. Getting ready for this war, they go on a ship, and it gets attacked by the guy, or an 11-year-old who is a cannibal. Got 2 more books. This next one is a physical book. I read it out loud to my kids, and I found this book in a little free library, I think this summer, and that is The School for Good and Evil by Saman Chinani. And I've been wanting to read this book for years, and so it is a fairy tale retelling good versus evil, and it follows these 2 girls, forget their names, Agnes and Sophie, or no, not Agatha, Sophie and Agatha. Sophie, Agatha. And so you think, looking at the cover, which one's good and which one's evil. You think she would be good? You think she would be evil? No. Good. Evil. What? What? Okay, so they live in this village where I think every year or every couple years this guy named the schoolmaster comes and steals 2 children from the village. And Sophie, she really wants to go to the School for Good and Evil because she wants to meet her prince. That's basically the whole book. Or Agatha, she just wants to live in her graveyard. So Sophie befriends Agatha trying to do a good deed, but she's not really a friend. She's just doing it to, like, make sure the schoolmaster is watching and, like, oh yeah, okay. She's befriending the outsider who lives in a graveyard. She's good. No. So they get chosen. And at first they think they're put into the wrong schools because Agatha, she's put into the pure, white, colorful School for Good. And Sophie is dropped in the pits of evil school hell with disgusting, decrepit looking walls and banisters and stairs and wolves that will bite your ass. The end with the schoolmaster. Loved his story. The best. I cannot wait to read the second book. A World Without Princes. Okay. What? Just, yeah, this book is just so great. It may be long, but if you get into it, it flies quickly. And it reminded me of Isle of the Lost by Melissa De La Cruz, because it's like villains live on the Isle of the Lost, and then the kingdom, Aradon, is like all of the good. And yeah, so highly recommend if you like the Isle of the Lost series or any fairy tale villain backstories in general. It's not backstories, but villain fairy tale stories. The last book on this list was a novella, or it's pitched as a novella, and that is Salt and Iron by October Weeks. I read this in one day because I was trying to get as much books read as possible in August. And it was a very quick read. I pitched this as a generic Buffy the Vampire Slayer. That's basically what it is. We follow this girl named Billy Shane. Her family is known ghost hunters, and so she is a ghost hunter. Or a ghost entrepreneur. Given her first solo case, she has to, this case is 3 boys. They had done a seance in this abandoned graveyard, and now 2 of the boys out of the 3 are severely sick. They are being very affected, and she has to figure out why they did this in the first place, what is causing it, how to stop it. And so she goes into this graveyard, and she immediately can sense a very negative presence. And so And there's also a romance in this little novella. I went into this book expecting to know who the characters are. And there's no other books in this Billy Shane series. And so we're expected to know who these people are and why they do this and how they got into this. And it's not giving any backstory into how the aunt and uncle started this business, and the writing was inconsistent, basically. You're being told this, and then it goes to this other scenario, and yeah. So I think the author just wrote like a bunch of things, like took some notes from Buffy, and then read a couple of things about the Salem witch trials and psychics, and just wrote it down and just slapped it together and called it a book. That's what I think. But I did end up giving this a 3 out of 5 because of the ghost story and the vengeful spirit. I just put all my stuff up, and then I was reading my review that I put on Goodreads about Salt and Iron, and I said, very quick read. Billy can't decide if she is eating waffles or pancakes in the first chapter. So that's another thing I had with this. The author couldn't, like, remember or decide on what she wanted the character to eat. The character, Billy, she wants waffles. Right out of bed. She gets waffles. Then she's talking to her aunt and uncle, and then it says, while she's finishing her pancakes. And then at the end of the chapter, she goes, okay, well, I want some more waffles after I finish this solo mission. I'm like, okay, so what are you eating? Are you eating waffles or are you eating pancakes? The editing was really sloppy, and it could have been better. The High Demon in the Crypt. It lacks a creative name. This author gives this demon the name Bat Out of Hell because it's got wings. It's not creative whatsoever. And that's another thing that will keep me from reading another book, or if the author writes a full-fledged novel and she lacks creative names for the demons, if she decides to add demons and more, then I will not be... this series will be like juvenile to me. The name Bat Out of Hell is just a cop-out, because it's used so much. It's not creative for a high demon. Why would a high demon have the name Bat Out of Hell? Just because it has wings, it doesn't look like a bat, so don't call it a bat. That is it for this recent reads video, August wrap up. I did not expect to talk as long as I did. I'm going to have a hell of a time editing. So if you've made it this far, thank you for watching. I know people don't make it to the end of my videos. They give this video a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you in my next video soon. Bye. Bye. Bye.